Thank you, Angela. Who's been here? The Golden Gate Bridge. That's home for me, San Francisco, over 10 years, and I couldn't find a better home. I want to share something with all of you today, and it's more to give you a new mindset, a new thinking. We learned a lot today, from product launches to talking to the developers to competitive intelligence. This is everything that we do. And when I took on the role as a product marketer in Boomi, I started with one specific product, and we had an acquisition. Another product got added to my portfolio. And I started realizing that product marketing, the name itself, doesn't mean anything to anybody. Everybody has a different word. Everybody has a new definition. So I'll probably open up to the group here. If you had 3 words to describe product marketing, first, could you describe it in 3 words? And if anybody wants to take a pass, what would those 3 words be? Not product marketing as a word, but something else. All right? What other words come to your mind when you think product marketing? Okay. Messaging, all right. So we heard strategic, messaging, collaborative. Those are all things as part of what we do. I'm going to take you through a journey, and be with me. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. I know you're all getting tired of the long sessions, but I'm going to promise you this is going to be worth it. So a little bit about me, why I'm here, and why should you guys listen to me. I am a first-time leader, fortunate to actually lead a team of 12 today. When I took on the role 2 years ago, we were a team of 5. We were given responsibilities across our products. We were given responsibilities across solutions and across industries. And then I realized when we say product marketing, I'm not doing justice to the solution marketers in my group. I'm not doing justice to the industry marketers in my group. And so we started evolving our role. So my mantra is empowering a mindful and high-performing team. And the words were chosen deliberately because everybody wants to be a high-performing team. But what if you also wanted to be mindful about it? And one word when I think about us as product marketers is also being mindful. So 2 things that keep me going every day is continuous learning and winning together. As part of continuous learning, this is my academics, if you will. What got me here, all thanks to my parents, they gave me a platform, they gave me the education so that I can be in front of all of you. So thank you, Mom and Dad. All my jobs, they were not just jobs because I was getting a paycheck. They were all opportunities for me to look at what's next. And the first time I heard about product marketing was in my first role at Applied Materials. And in that role, and we were part of the marketing communications group. That marketing communications then evolved, and now you actually have a function called product marketing in organizations. Where we see this going next is portfolio messaging. Are we doing justice to who we are and what we do by just calling ourselves as product marketers? This year, I was also fortunate to be recognized by some of the organizations around the globe. And as part of that, a third of me is also that traveler. And being that traveler, I always think about what's next. Where are we going? As a product marketer, we have an opportunity to think of the short term and the long term. Are we helping show customers what customers don't know that they need, right? Are we thinking about the right aspects of it? So when I look at the world is a book. And if you do not travel, you have only read 1 page. I think that applies to everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. So as we go into product marketing and everything that we do, these are 2 principles that I think apply to everything that we have. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Why our role exists and why we exist in an organization is so that we can take the technical, the product language, and actually convert it into something that customers can understand. Make sure that customers know that you are speaking to them, right? Martin spoke about it this morning. If we are not speaking to the customer needs, and if the developer has a lens that, oh, this is marketing gimmicks, they're not going to listen to you, and you have a tough time reaching to them. We as an organization, we're focused on mid-market and SMB, and now we're going to the enterprise. That's a whole new game out there. We have an opportunity to now start reaching out to the C-level. How you talk to IT and how you talk to engineers and developers are different when you start talking to the C-level and the business folks. How do you make sure you have that balance? So if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And that is our job. So if I had one thing I would put right in front of my monitor screen every morning, it's this. Because if I can't do that job of making sure I'm simplifying it, then I'm not helping myself, I'm not helping my team, I'm not helping the customers, I'm not helping sales. And that's where we live in. So thankfully, we had the State of the Product Marketing Report, the golden goose egg for me. I was so excited when I saw it. I actually took a couple copies. We had the same event in San Francisco. I took a couple copies. I gave one to my manager. And we actually are part of the product organization. So I went to the chief product officer and said, hey, if you don't understand what we do, this book is going to help you. And he embraced it. He looked at it and said, great, I didn't realize there were so many different things we were doing. These are our priorities and team alignment. Who do we talk to? What do we do on a day-to-day basis? And the reason why I asked you for those 3 words were to see if any of those words would reflect here. And that first thing, messaging and positioning, if that is number 1 of what we do, then why don't we call ourselves that? Why don't we help the rest of the organization understand? We talk about content marketing, we talk about demand generation. All of these functions didn't exist 10 years ago. Right? We had a marketing communications team, and that marketing communications team has become so diverse now. Now you have demand generation, you have sales enablement, you have product marketing. I think we are there to go to the next evolution. What is it that we want to focus our energy and time on? When I said, hey, I'm part of the product marketing team, they were like, oh, product marketing. And this is me talking to the product folks. They were like, by the way, I have put all this presentation together. I have great content. Can you just pretty it up for me, please? I was like, I know I have good presentation skills. I can pretty it up for you, but let me step back a little. Let me help you tell the story you want to tell. Can we start there? There are maybe 10% that want to do that, and then 90% are like, no, my presentation is in 2 hours. Can you just do what I've asked you to do? And we're like, okay, sure. So gaining that trust and confidence was important. So they realized I can pretty things up, and in between that, I would also give them recommendations and suggestions on how you can structure your story, right? The rule of 3. Everybody thinks they know the rule of 3, but how do you tell a good story? I started writing, and this was one of the reasons why I started writing as part of Forbes, was I wasn't a good writer. I knew that was a gap that I had. But I wanted to learn, and so I started writing, and I would send it to the editor, and the editor would be like, okay, you have got ideas, but there is no story. Let's go from idea to story. And so that evolution takes time. After messaging and positioning, we have product launches. We know product launches are why we exist in an organization. Somebody wants to launch a product, it's our opportunity to take it to the market. The product launch, and I tell this to everybody that I meet in the organization, the product launch is not an end state, it's a journey. You start with inception, right? You build it, you beta it, do an early adopter, however you want to call it. You actually have a milestone. That milestone could be an event. The milestone could be you tweeted about it. Could be different things, but there are milestones through that journey, and your product launch only ends when you achieve your success metric. So as part of that, if you have an event and you launch something, your job is not done. But 9 out of 10 times, we think our job is done there, and we don't go to the next step. So that shift needs to happen, right? Rethinking how product launches are done. And then we also included solutions into our portfolio. So we said, hey, customers don't just want to know about features and functionality about our products, they also want packaged solutions. So we started incorporating solutions into that. So how do you differentiate between a product launch and a solution launch? These are all good questions to consider. Are those two different teams' responsibilities, or is it part of the same team? Then we started looking at what's next. And if you keep going down that list, you'll see content and collateral kind of at the bottom of that list. You're not that high up, but 90% of what we spend our time on and what sales is asking us for is content, content, content. Oh, you gave me these data sheets, now I need more technical content. I need this, I need that. And it doesn't end because you've given them everything. Every time you give something, there's always something new that you need to do. So where do you focus your time and energy? And that's where I see that shift. The side on the right side is to think about, where do we spend our time? Which teams do we talk to, right? We saw different variations of it today. A universe, we are part of an ecosystem. There are different ways to slice and dice, but 90% of our time goes with spending time with the product. And this was the only slide that I needed to share with my CPO to help him understand where our time and energy goes, right? As part of that, it doesn't mean that we don't work with the rest of the teams. Our role is so cross-functional. Everything that we do touches product, touches marketing, and touches sales. And yes, if your organization has a customer success function, it's your opportunity to kind of take it to that level, as well as business development. Everything that we do for the product and for direct sales, we have a whole partner ecosystem that wants to leverage what we have. But it needs to be partner-fied, right? We need to change that. And the asks are coming to the same team. So it doesn't matter whether you have a team of 10 or a team of 12 or a team of 50, the asks and requests are still going to be as diverse until we focus. So if you think about where we are and where we should be going, we have 3 things to consider. Ownership and accountability. We are great at putting down fires. Who here just put down a fire this week? That's it? Come on, be honest to yourself. How many put down fires this week? This month? Since the new year, how many put down fires? Right? We are so good at being reactive, you can't even believe it yourself. We wake up every morning and we're like, I have a plan. I know what I'm gonna do today. And then your phone rings, or you get an email. By the way, CEO wants this. By the way, the head of sales wants this. Or it's, by the way, this was needed yesterday, so can you get this to me as soon as you can? And we're great at it. We love to do that because that's how we are ingrained. We are great at taking that ownership and like, oh, yes, I got this. I'm gonna do this for you. And you're going to thank me later. But how many of you feel like you're the silent heroes that nobody gives you credit enough for? It's hard. It's hard for everything that we do. It's hard to make sure that we have the right intentions and hard to keep ourselves motivated every time. As we go through that ownership and accountability, we are good at it. That's why we are in these roles, because we know how to put down fires. We know how to take on the next challenge. But we also need to make sure we are going through it the right way. Data-driven and customer insights. You heard briefly today about MQLs, SQLs, and now we are going down this path with PQLs, where as a SaaS company, and hopefully this resonates with most of you, as a SaaS company, if we are not driving product adoption, then that's not a good thing. So we are going down that path of PQLs, and I would love to kind of hear from folks around. I'll be here later today too, and tomorrow, on are you seeing that change in terms of being more data-driven? Are you seeing that shift happening? And then the last is technology and collaboration. We have a lot of great sponsors out there. There's a lot of opportunity for us to leverage technology, but then technology can also be a challenge. So how do you find that right mix? I start my day with Asana. Like if Asana went down, I wouldn't know what to do sometimes. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. It's hard for me to judge. But at the same time, you have competitive intelligence tools. You have content management tools. Sometimes, do these tools talk to each other is a question that I often have. So if you think about all those aspects, right? We mentioned collaboration as one of the things that we think of when we think of product marketing. Collaboration is key, and our role is so cross-functional. We need to make sure we're tying the right pieces, talking to the right people, and engaging with the right folks, right? Our job is to inspire. Our job is to get people excited about the message that we have, get people on board. And sometimes that doesn't mean just saying, hey, here's the message, here's the messaging framework, look how pretty we have put this together, go run with it. It's getting their buy-in. It's making sure they understand what we're trying to do. So, as part of that, this is how we look at ourselves. Portfolio messaging. We translate, and we are the voice of the market. If we can do these two things right, then everything else fits right after. So I have a version of that. We actually talk to every department, every team in the organization, and that's a good thing. When we were a team of, or a company size of 200, 300, you could talk to everybody, and you knew them and they knew you when they needed something. But now that the team has grown and the company has grown to over 1,000 employees, how do you keep building that scale, right? That's a question to consider. So here are the disciplines that we looked at and said, as part of our team, this is what our discipline is. These are the things that we would focus on. Portfolio messaging and positioning. Number one, and it goes very well with the State of the Product Marketing report. We are seeing this as our opportunity to tie those two things together. Second is product and solution launches. The third is buyer persona. When you think about buyer persona, and everybody talks about buyer personas in different ways, it's our opportunity to connect with the customer. If we are the voice of the market, how are we resonating with them? And last but not least, our competitive intelligence, market presence, and analyst engagement. All of these things are part of what we do. But how do we make sure that we are driving platform and solution as well as industry adoption? Adoption and growth is what we are trying to look to. In that same light, if you think about the buckets, and since you'll be getting the presentations, I'm not going to walk through each of them, but buyer personas, messaging positioning, launches, go-to-market, as well as your sales and partner knowledge transfer. These are the aspects that you're bringing together. So step back a little and think about your objectives and goals. What are we trying to achieve? Is it customer lifetime value? Yes, everybody says we need to drive pipeline and drive revenue, but are we driving customer lifetime value? Are we trying to help increase the average deal size? Or are we looking at market expansion? Or even industry presence, right? These are all areas for us to think of. And if that's what we are trying to do, how does that map to our day-to-day goals? How does that map to what we want to do? And how can we actually project this outward to the rest of the organization? So a little bit about the art of storytelling. Everybody understands how a customer goes through their experience, right? You discover, you learn, you try something, you buy it, and then you become the advocate. This is also shifting. It's no more just thinking about gaining a customer and making sure that they buy and purchase. If you think about the funnel, awareness, consideration, decision. It doesn't end there. There's a whole retention and adoption part. How often do we get there because you're so focused here? It's a constant struggle. So we took a couple approaches to drive that alignment. We brought in objectives and key results. We wanted to make sure the organization understood where we are and why we do what we do. It's a simple framework. It can mean a lot of things, but if we don't have that alignment, then at the end of the year, the question is, what did you guys do for us? So this was our way of bringing that forward. And John Doerr has a great TED Talk, at least to get you excited about it, because it's not just a professional goal. It's also something that you can set personally. And actually, coming to stage was one of my personal OKRs. So I think I'm doing reasonably okay there. The next part was about dashboards, making sure we have metrics to tie to what we're doing so that we have a lens into what's working, what's not working. When I took on the role, my biggest challenge was, I don't know if we're putting the right stuff out there. So think about this. We have an opportunity to make that shift. We have an opportunity to change the trajectory, and it's everybody in this room that's looking for that next evolution. So as final thoughts, I read a book around Ikigai. It's a beautiful concept. So has anybody heard about Ikigai? All right, a couple brave souls. When I ventured down this path, it talked about life's worth. And it sounds very philosophical. It sounds like, oh, it's something out there, not something that we can do on a day-to-day basis. But what it says is what you love to do, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what are you good at. You're good at it where it doesn't feel like work anymore. It's your inspiration. It's what keeps you up at night sometimes, or what gets you out of bed in the morning. Find your Ikigai. And that's your opportunity to also think about the shift and the changes that product marketing is going on. And where do you see product marketing going into as the part of this new decade? So thank you, everyone, and I'll appreciate everybody's comments, feedback, as well as any new ideas that is coming for the next decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Div. Do we have any questions for Div in the audience? Any questions for Div? So I have a question, Div. So I always hold my questions because I want you to have yours first. I always have a question. That's just, you can ask. My boss is here, and I'll talk about him a little bit more later, but you can ask him. I always have questions. But Div, what I thought you said that was very interesting is that if portfolio messaging is our role, why don't we call ourselves portfolio messengers? And you've implemented portfolio messaging at Boomi, correct? How has that conversation gone over with the teams that you support?
Interesting. Initially, everybody wanted to wordsmith the words. So like, oh, portfolio messaging, shouldn't we call it portfolio messaging and positioning? And I went back and told them, actually, I was trying to shorten our group name, which is Product Solutions and Industry Marketing, to something that's 2 words. So portfolio messaging is meant to help restructure and help us step back and think, right? We're good at being reactive. How can we be a bit more proactive? How can we take a stance of where we think the role is? And we talked about different roles, different ways the product marketers can be. Some are storytellers, some are data-driven. Some like to just be behind the scenes and let others do the talking. There are different ways of it. So it's up to us to figure out what we want to be. And that's part of the journey that we're going through. So we have been going through that with the leadership team, and there's been a lot of good support. So we are super excited to kind of venture into this new opportunity. And it doesn't change what we do. It's just helping brand what we do better. It's helping provide that clarity, because it shouldn't be that the product person thinks your job is putting up presentations and then the marketing team thinks, oh, can you simplify this technology for me, right? We need to find that balance, and I'm in search of finding that balance.
Awesome. No other questions? Awesome. Thank you, Div.